We're smooth 98.1 FM. It's gone 28 minutes already before this top of the hour, 8 o'clock. It is time for Freshly Pressed, where we pick up the headlines this morning as the analysts are eager, rearing to go this morning. Let's meet the analysts this morning. I've got AB Bozimo. Good morning to you, AB.
Hello, good morning, Omats. Good morning to Joe and all of the wonderful listeners.
And I say welcome to Joseph Obari, who joins us the last time we checked. Well, not on the golf course as we see right now. That should be Abuja. Good morning to
you. Good morning, Omatseye. Good morning, Lagos, AB, and the rest of the world. Thanks for being with us here.
All right, so we'd like you to be part of the conversation. If you would send us a WhatsApp message reacting to any of the headlines this will be looking at this morning on 0809-444-0981. You could also leave us a message on X at Smooth981FM. And if you would need to go back to this today, if you missed it or somewhere you joined in halfway, you could also go over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Smooth981FM to be able to catch up a replay of all of the conversation. That said, it looks like a fine place to tee up this morning. If I say tee up, someone definitely feels I'm coming for him this morning. So, Joe, we come to you to give us an eagle with this one because you've been conspicuously present. Get the sarcasm there. To give us this one, but from the Punch newspaper saying, President Tinubu approves 25,000 Naira monthly grant for vulnerable pensioners. Take us through this.
Yeah, I am afraid that the government's approach has ever since been tokenism. I mean, we're just beating the end of the straw. I mean, the real kernel of the matter is addressing the root causes of poverty. And I'm glad that the NLC president captured that very succinctly when he said, let's look at not only how to solve this problem, but the cause of it. If we continue to treat the effects of poverty, the problem will persist. Let us look at all the social welfare interventions and job creation that will go a long way to support families. The federal government should give out 5 billion to states. What came out of it? That's the fear we've always expressed, is how does this get to the people? 25,000 to vulnerable pensioners. There is no record of those vulnerable pensioners. They are only going to start compilation of the list now. In fact, the minister was pleading with NLC to help them to do that. I mean, so how do you have a federal government that talked about addressing poverty as far back as how many years ago? They've been talking about addressing poverty, and they don't even have a data of so-called vulnerable pensioners. So you don't even have a statistics. How many pensioners are there in Nigeria? How many of them are vulnerable? How do you determine what is vulnerable? Who is vulnerable? Who is not vulnerable in this economy right now? So if you select a percentage of it, what happens to the rest? So it just is tokenish. I mean, that's the problem. That's the way I see it. Will it help some people? Maybe, yeah, somebody who receives 25,000 Naira may be able to cook for his family for 1 week, maybe, buy some drugs, maybe. But the question is that the larger population of this country will still be left to face this harrowing experience all by themselves.
Joe, but before I let this paper, we'll put it to sleep now, you would also look at, if we recall seeing the visuals of pensioners who would queue up for their pension, wouldn't that also speak to the fact that, yes, they are vulnerable and the government should have a record somewhere because people left service and so it should be easy to get the record?
That is the point. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Your living service, there should be records of you living, where you're going to. I'm a pensioner. I mean, I'm a retiree. It's my private sector. Every month, I get mails from those administering the pensions fund and so on. They even ask me for what's it called? Feedback. I should grade them on how they are doing.
Including prayers.
Yeah, well, let's not talk about off the mic on that. So they follow up on you. They ask you questions. They want to know. That means that they have all your data. They have records of you. But if we have pensioners who go queue up in line, some of them drop dead, some of them are ill, most of them are old people, they are ill. They can't even go on, if they want to go physically to do all this exercise, pensioners can't even come out. Most of them can't come out. So it leaves a whole lot of questions unanswered.
That a safe place for me to drift away now to AB this morning as he picks a copy of the Vanguard up this morning, and the headline screaming from that paper is APC kicks. Then move away because the kick might be touching you if you feel uncomfortable. As it says, APC kicks as Atiku says only Supreme Court can end his fight with President Tinubu. And now this is coming off of the World Press Conference he addressed and of the Chicago SCSU issues arising. So, Abi, help us get a sense of what this is all about right now after these certificates have been made public.
Well, I don't know how headlines are crafted, and I see the one where they say APC kicks. In the body of the story, I didn't really see any APC kick. Also, part of the story said the former vice president has a feud with the current president. I don't see it as a feud. There seems to have been an election as part of what one of the parties wanted to put forward. He said there were questions, perhaps, about the credentials and history of another candidate. Let's remove the personalities. And so at the simplest level, there is a question of authenticating, because according to the Nigerian law, in fact, according to law anywhere, and I stand to be corrected, you cannot put something on nothing, i.e., you cannot get a benefit from something that is incorrect or illegitimate. So he has gone searching for information, and on oath in a foreign country, he's got some evidence that would at this point suggest that the academic history of the current president of Nigeria, the document he presented, is not whether he went to school or not, but that the document he presented to INEC appears to be a forgery. This is no more in doubt, or it's no more, it appears to have been a forgery. This does not question whether the man went to school. And those are not the issues, because a lot of people have been trying to make different excuses and explanations for simple forgery. I don't know, and a lawyer and many lawyers will tell me, whether forged documents are permitted to be presented for anything. If you were to go and look for a job of a cleaner in an organization, and there's a requirement for any document, trust me, you'll be scrutinized. So it goes further than just what Atiku has done right now up to this point, but about the institution. How was it that an INEC, not just now, but 20-something years ago, was able to accept documents which have now been proven to be forgeries? That is at the heart of it. We'll see whether there'll be a technicality or not at the next level in the Supreme Court. We will wait to see, because at the end of the day, if that's the case, I can just go online and declare myself a medical doctor and come out with a certificate and present it, and nobody should question me, because that is the standard would have now accepted for the highest office in the land and for every other office below.
That looks like a fine place to let the story from the Vanguard sleep for now, while we wait for the listener to get in their thoughts on those headlines we're looking at. It's freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1 FM. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. I've got AB Bozimo as analyst today, and I've also got Joseph Obari also in the house. So if we're done, let's get away to our next paper this morning, and it is a copy of the Daily Trust newspaper, where it is saying that the Supreme Court announces date to deliver judgment in treasonable charge against Nnamdi Kanu. So, and that's the date has been set. I would like you, Joe, to walk us into the story and see if this would, the end is coming for the travails of this demand.
Yeah, about a year ago, the Court of Appeal, passed a very monumental judgment in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, who was was adopted by the government from Kenya and brought to Nigeria and arraigned for unreasonable charges. Yeah, and there were all about I think about 16 charges or so, and then the lower court, Federal High Court, dropped by 8 of them also and left some for him to be tried on. But the Kanu's people went on appeal at the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal actually listened to the argument and said, well, look, this man was illegally rendered, that's the legal word for it, rendered by going to adopt him from Kenya and bringing him instead of using the extradition route to get him here. So they quashed all the charges against him. And but it's curiously, the Attorney General decided to file an appeal to the Supreme Court, and which is what the court is now saying they want to decide. But I want to talk about the political angle of this whole matter. I think it's important that the government should take a more political approach to this, and that it would have been healthier if the Buhari administration had just allowed the appeal at that time that succeeded to be the ground under which they could resolve the political angle to this whole matter. As we speak now, the Southeast is still very resty. We have people who are terrorizing people, threatening them, making them not come out on every Monday to do their businesses. The economy of the Southeast is suffering, and they legitimize all their actions on the fact that Nnamdi Kanu is still being held. If you release Nnamdi Kanu and he has an influence and to tell his people what they should do, which unfortunately now he's not able to do because somebody is sitting down in Finland and then feeding the people all kinds of propaganda and information and resting it on the fact that Nnamdi Kanu is still, then there will be no basis for such a person to do so if Nnamdi Kanu is released. So I should think that I would think that the Supreme Court will do the right thing. And there is sufficient ground for the Court of Appeal relied on to have quashed those charges. And if the Supreme Court has done what we call social engineering in its judgment before, and they should be able to look at it objectively and help the government to address this matter.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. AB, you have something to throw in, but just also remember the Nigerian Tribune is waiting, so just make it less than a minute.
I just find in the story that is interesting that government was given a court order and ostensibly has ignored it for all this time. Yet when they are having disputes with labor, they always claim that there's a subsisting court order that prevents labor from going on strike. I just find that an interesting contrast, that's all.
Okay, so drift away to the Nigerian Tribune now, and it says, abduction of varsity students, Senate summons security chiefs for explanations as relating to all of this going on and how we can get these people back to freedom. Let's also throw it in there that you remember some core members who were going for national service. We're still here to hear about their release. And then it just seemed like a continuous slap across the face when they feel like just keep slapping our collective sensibility with this. When do we have to see an end to it? So take us through the story.
It is completely unacceptable that in any part of the country, and let's be clear, there's crime happening, not just in the Northwest, but all over the country and also all over the world. However, the difference should be seen in our response to it. We are hearing of schools now being the target, similar to what happened many years ago. They go to schools, they abduct children, people who are just trying to advance themselves. Nothing can be more destructive to hope than the fact that you cannot go to school, successfully go through school, and leave with your credentials. Now, they have called the security chiefs. Fine, that's their responsibility. I have always found it very troubling that in an era of relatively cheap prosumer drones and solutions that can actually detect concentrations of carbon dioxide, which is what human beings breathe out, the Nigerian security forces cannot keep drones aloft for hours on end just to see, because you sometimes hear that these people come in motorcycle columns of 100 to 300 people. That's not a small number. You should be able to detect them from afar and preventively attack them. But you hear these things happening over and over again, and then you take a group of people again, and you're escaping, and you're never detected. I don't know whether any of you has ever carried something as simple as a laptop through some places. Ordinary laptop, they ask you for your receipt, your blood type, your favorite food, everything. But you are taking human beings under duress, and you're escaping without detection. It's really, really troubling to me. But at the bottom line, this is not an acceptable or sustainable situation. People must be able to go to school, must be safe in school. So they're talking about the security people should set up perimeters around the school. But don't the students go to and from school to the market? It's about an overall security environment that's improved, not just the schools.
All right. Thank you so much, AD. So it is time to get into the messages we asked for. We've seen some of them already waiting to be read. I would just like you to get them coming to 0809-444-0981. Still got a copy of The Guardian to dive into, and then also still got a copy of The Punch, and our final paper would interest you, the This Day newspaper. But let's get into the message this morning as we pick up this one coming in from Tajuddin. Tajuddin says, well, I didn't get the name of the analyst. I said A.B. Bozimo and Joseph Obari. Listen, it moves on. But palliative the government wants to give now is a vulnerability to another humongous corruption that's at stake. And he says, God bless the analysts this morning for their submissions. Now comes this one from NG from Ajibo. Is it the pensioners that they're owing that they want to give 25K? This government feels train money around will solve the problem. May God help us. NG from Ajibo. Then comes in Emeka Onelum saying, what an international embarrassment this certificate saga is causing. What is even more embarrassing is the fact that our Constitution says you need at least O-level certificate to become the president, even though the secondary school he attended is, in this case, very questionable. What a mess. And that's what Emeka Onelum read out, sent in here. And then I've got Joseph Menye from Silver Estate, Ejibo, Lagos, telling us here that, well, do you know that Nigerians going abroad for educational purposes will be worse victims now because they would undergo agonizing scrutiny of their credentials to the extent that might lead to depression due to the stress to prove it. Those supporting it, this whole situation should continue because Nigeria would soon happen to them. That's what Joseph Menye from Silver Estate sent in here. Then comes in Aderemi Adeniro saying, you can't prove forgery by reasons of your opinions. Well, Chicago State University registrar never used the word forge or forgery in that deposition. And now he says, stop gaslighting the public. Then please, you have to establish that in a law court to make it a grounds of appeal. Izzy, that's Z-Man from Bristol, sent in this one. Apart from attending a secondary school that was, well, in his opinion, non-existent at the time of claim to be a graduate from the school, the university certificate it tendered to INEC has been proven to be a forgery. Well, that's what Z-Man from Bristol sent in. And Dan Okuda is also with us this morning from Igondo, where he said he's sending this. I want to commend one of the guest analysts for calling a spade, not a spoon. Then it goes on, many Nigerians are now trying to redefine the meaning of what they understand as forgery. No nation can thrive on foundation of falsehood. And then Emeka comes in from Ikeja, and he says that this one, okay, goes on, the president dashing money out to various categories of people shows he's desperately shopping and campaigning for legitimacy. All the refineries are not functioning and the power sector is dead. That 25K to pensioners, in his opinion, Emeka from Ikeja, is a waste. Now I go over to Ajayi Olodilua from Magodo Isheri here when he says, I think the analyst is missing the point that what Atiku is alleging now is a fresh allegation which must go through another trial to be authenticated. Ajayi Olodilua from Magodo GRA. I'll take this one before I get back to the papers now. Idema Puza from Surulere says, judiciary should do a thorough job on this issue of the CSU certificate to save Nigerians embarrassment and mistrust by other countries in future. Well, because President Tinubu certificate saga would make every Nigerian certificate suspect. That's Idima Prusa sending this one in. I see Inkabolu's message. I also see Austin, but we'll get back to it before the end of the show. So I returned to AB this morning. Now, AB, let's go to the Guardian newspaper, where we see...
that's an odd number.
Oh, that's an odd number. No, not AB now. It is. It's an odd number. That's for you. Okay, so it goes... DSS, ICPC arrest former Unical lecturer over sex scandal. This story has been brewing for a time now, and it calls to question the people will leave our children with to mold and impact knowledge in if they're really safe. But help us break this down.
Well, first of all, let's say that the man has not been found guilty, and it's important to note that he's a professor of law who has been accused of sexual misconduct. And the university set up a disciplinary machinery by suspending him and then to investigate the matter and then take the appropriate action they should take. But the man has sidestepped them and filed an action against the university vice chancellor, trying to preempt that investigation and alleging that he's been witch hunted. Now, because the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission has been stepped in to investigate that matter also at another level, they wanted him to come in, but they couldn't get him. He wasn't willing to respond. So they called on the DSS to now apprehend him, which they did, just for them to continue their own process. But I think, I'm sorry to say, I'm as a lawyer, I can tell you that I think it's premature for the ICPC to want to intervene if the university's investigation process is still ongoing. So that they should have allowed the university to conclude its findings, come to a conclusion that this man is guilty, and then they can now take action by doing what they should do to a public officer in this case. But that not being the case, that being the case, we still are concerned that this is even coming up at all. The man is insisting that this is mere campaign. He was being set up to get him out of his position and so on. And he has gone to court. So the matter is now sub judice. We have to wait for the court to process it, because even the investigation going on in the university is now being held by that matter that he has filed, which is trying to preempt the university from acting. That's the backbone of it all.
We'll drift away now. Let's get AB's just sprinkle a little salt on it, and that would not affect the content of what
one sentence. I am troubled that is the DSS effecting that arrest. Where is the police? Unless these kind of allegations call for the big guns of the DSS, is the police no longer involved in things like this? That's just troubling to me.
No, but the police couldn't arrest him. So the DSS, they have they had much more power. Let's say they have the skill to be able to detect where somebody goes and so on. So they call them in. Huh? Yeah, maybe the commission trusts the DSS better than the police to get that back.
All right. So AB, before we dig into the Punch newspaper, which is waiting for you, I'd like to throw in, this is quite lengthy, so we don't have to rush when time is up. I've got Yinka Bolu on this one. AB, if you go online to print a document or certificate that you are a medical doctor without going to medical school, then you have committed forgery. That's what he's saying. In the way you are dragging, I want to believe you have read the 155-page deposition by CSU registrar, and forgery wasn't established or stated. It's some bitter Nigerians that come up with that forgery thing, which is understandable. The question is that why is CSU not going after Tinubu himself? I think our problem is that we have our minds fixated on the UK educational system, which is clearly different from the US. In any case, let's wait for the Supreme Court to settle this, and I hope we discuss why O-level is the minimum qualification to be president, something that can't get you job in any office. even candidates that tendered O-level are even talking. It's a shame. The lawyer, Joe, quickly, just throw something in because we've got this one to go.
Yeah. So the point is this. First of all, let's say the Supreme Court will decide on this. So it's not right to second guess them. But
Yes.
the point is that the issue of forgery is being interpreted by various people in different ways. Some people are talking about the appearance of the document that was submitted compared with, but the US university is saying we don't pay so much attention to all those paper documents, that certificates, ceremonial, that it's actually the transcript that we rely on. And that's what the registrar explained. And that's what this listener is harping on, that we are paying too much attention to the appearance of the document. At the time you make a request, the person who is the registrar at that time signs it. So you will see two different documents if you order. That's just it.
Thank you. Avi, please, we need to do this one. We're pressed for time, so throw this one in for us. Death penalty, corrupt official, not effective. That's the NIPS speaking here. And we've got one more story we need to take. Joe, going to hit us on that one.
Clearly, I would never print a fake document. End of story. Now, death penalty for corrupt officials. The NIPSS has said, hey, they don't advocate the suggestion that corrupt people should be executed. But there was something inside the story that I found very interesting. They said, you can't do something in a certain way and expect a different result. So I'm not aware right now that Nigeria has death penalty for corrupt individuals. So we have not tried it. I would say that on this point, the way Nigeria seems to be right now, the NIPSS may find itself very much at odds with the general feeling of the populace, because corruption has led to so much distraction and destruction in Nigeria. Poverty walks the streets. Yes, you could say it's not the way to go, but I would advocate, let's try it and see. If you are corrupt and it's proven, let us execute you. Then when we see that it's not working, after we have killed 50,000 people, we'll stop.
Ms. Abi, we would also we would remember where we're coming from back in the days where you would watch a public execution on the bar beach, and back in the days, even in Bendel State, but that doesn't stop stealing or armed robbery. But I'm just throwing that in just to get the conversation going.
No, I agree. It hasn't, but those particular ones are no longer stealing.
Okay, let's get Joe. Please do this for us in less than a minute, because we need to recognize our teachers, very important, and that's the assurance the president is giving to teachers, saying that Tinubu to teachers, you will get your due reward under my watch. Should they go to the bank with this one?
I don't believe it, because the point is that how much was allocated to education in the budget? What has been the show for that interest in education? How much? So you can't build this promise on nothing. You don't have the money. Yeah, I mean, you give 1.something trillion to education sector, which is less than 10% of your budget, as against 15 to 25 that UNICEF recommends. And then you come up and say you're going to the teachers. How is that reflecting the life of the teachers?
All right, thank you very much. That's in the
just
spirit
ticking
of
the box again. That's the point.
The World Teachers Day celebrated yesterday, but let's get to the final message as we close up this morning. I've got Austin from Satellite saying about the abduction of students, the ant that is biting someone is inside the cloth he is wearing. They made it clear that they don't want Western education. Austin from Satellite. Then in comes Dami from Ikeja. Mass poverty is a choice that is deliberately made our elite. Their access to power and privilege was built on tokenism, sharing money, and it goes on, but then we see what the message is there. Abbas throws in this one before we go. Someone who claims to be a lawyer will come on national radio and say emphatically that something that has not gone through the court is forgery, yet the same man will give the lecturer the benefit of a doubt for allegations because it hasn't gone to court. Well, the double standard in analysis is always right. May God Nigeria succeed then. Well, I honestly, messages still, I see Raboni's message from Festac. I see the other one also here from Ken from Lekki. I also see Yinka Bulu throwing the last one in. At least the good thing about CSU thing is that we all agreed Bat won the election, Abi. All right, gentlemen, it's a wrap on the show this morning. A.B. Bozimo, thank you for your time as always.
Thank you.
Pleasure
I
and
mean,
privilege are
very
always
exciting
mine.
contributions from our listeners. I like that.
All right.
Absolutely.
Have a great
Absolutely.
All right,
weekend,
guys.
gentlemen.
Great weekend,
You
If I
everybody.
too.
Yeah, great.